Good evening. Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Northside Board of Trustees. Before calling this meeting to order, the board would like to take just a moment to briefly review some of the rules for conducting our meeting. It is important to note that on March 16th, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by the Attorney General to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meeting laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to COVID-19. I'll now ask Ms. McGee to call the roll of trustees. Ms. McGee?
Dr. Harrell, Ms. Freeman,
Present.
Mr. Medina,
Present.
Mr. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Chumley,
Present.
Mr. Blunt,
Present.
Ms. Reed.
Present. In accordance with those suspended rules mentioned above, we certify the following. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. We do have a quorum in attendance through in-person and virtual means. We are meeting in part by use of a software application which allows communication among trustees. As we would at any in-person meeting, members of the public who have followed the instructions on the meeting notice for registering to speak during the public comment portion or to address a specific agenda item will be limited to no more than 3 minutes to speak. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board-adopted procedures to the extent practical. An audio recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. We apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. The order of business for this meeting is set out in the agenda. One item that you may notice on the agenda is the consent agenda. This item includes items that are considered routine and/or are of a recurring nature. All the items listed under consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion. The meeting will now be officially called to order. Please stand and bow your heads as Trustee Katie Reed leads us in the invocation and pledges of allegiance.
Almighty and merciful God, we ask your guidance and blessings upon this board, students, parents, patrons, teachers, and administrators as we are assembled here this evening in the common pursuit of this great nation's wealth, our children. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Trustee Reed. Before we get started with our agenda items, I'd like to recognize some people here in the audience. We do have several recognitions. We're happy you're here. You will be introduced at a later time. But right now, I would like to recognize one of our past trustees, Lynn Britton. Lynn, please stand and be recognized. Welcome, Lynn. And we also have Judge Sid Harrell. Judge Harrell? Judge Harrell is here to swear in our newly elected trustee, Corinne Saldana, and myself. You should know that Dr. Harrell is unable to be here today. She's out of town. And a few days ago, there was a recognition at John Marshall High School Law and Magnet School in which Judge Harrell was he was invited to address the students there. And our trustee board president, Carol Harrell, was also there bringing remarks from the Northside board. So since Trustee Harrell knew she wasn't going to be here today, they took advantage of that situation. And Judge Harrell swore Dr. Harrell in at that time. So Judge Harrell, thank you for being here today. And it's special that you're here and swearing us in. Okay, first item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Freeman and members of the board, several items tonight. 2 weeks ago exactly, Naomi Miller gave you a legislative update. Lots has happened as we're near the end of the session. So There are bills on the move as we speak that would impact the way that we operate as a school system. So I'll just hit the highlights. There is a bill that's moving in the House that would prevent teachers from discussing certain topics in classes, especially social studies classes. We're obviously tracking that. A bill that would regulate how TEA holds districts accountable. Quite a bit of work has gone into that bill. That's the one that I mentioned to the board on the 11th that was so bad at that point. It's come a long way, and we actually support that bill now. So
Okay.
Well, that was it.
I can carry on, but let's try to turn the lights back on.
I see them working on it.
There we go. Thank you.
That's part of them.
We got half. While they work on that, I'll carry on. There is a bill that I was able to testify to late last week that would allow us to continue to operate virtual learning at least through the 22-23 school year, and feel like that is moving in a positive direction. There's also a bill that would force us, unfortunately, to supplant locally up to 40% of ESSER 3 funds to be spent after October 1 of 2024. I've expressed to anybody I can get to answer the phone that ought to be a local decision, that local boards ought to be deciding that, not TEA or the legislature. So we're obviously tracking that. So that's some of the highlights of what's going on in Austin right now. So speaking of news coming out of Austin, last week we got the governor's executive order forbidding public entities, including school districts, from mandating masks after June the 4th. Our last school day is June the 3rd. Obviously, we will comply with the governor's executive order. However, because so many of our students are unvaccinated, we will continue to encourage in our summer program students and staff to wear their masks. It was a real honor and a pleasure to be able to visit with our Internal Educator of the Year Awards. I was also able to go to the Trinity Prize and honor the Northside teacher who was recognized for the Trinity Prize. We were able to do all of those in person to a small degree, and it was really nice to see all of those excellent teachers. Lately, I got an opportunity to visit a Head Start program at one of our schools. We are looking to work with a nonprofit called Family Service to expand Head Start in our schools and offer early childhood services where we have some capacity in some of our elementary schools. And it was really a great visit and hope to be able to expand that going forward. As we've discussed with the board over, it feels like a long period of time now, we are getting closer now that we've acquired the piece of property adjacent to Jones Middle School to building a health clinic for students and their young siblings. Had a good meeting with University Health and feel like we're moving in the right direction. We are hopeful that that will be stood up and ready to operate by January of 2022. Very recently was able to attend the annual agriculture award ceremony for kids. Always such impressive young people in that program. And I was able to say some retirement remarks for my friend and colleague Steve Chumbley, and was really pleased to be able to do that, and really wish he and Melissa well in that what she hopes is a collective retirement at some point in time.
Yes.
So as many in the room know, this is Mrs. Reed's final meeting. Yesterday I saw her at an event. I said, "You're on your second to last day as a trustee." Well, that would make today the last day for Mrs. Reed and her 31 years of service. So, and obviously we'll be swearing in her replacement, who we're very pleased has been elected to the board, Ms. Saldana. We thought in lieu of a video moment about anything else, we would show the video that was created where her colleagues on the board talk about their work with Mrs. Reed over these many years. So let's hit it with the video moment.
Good evening, family and friends. Good evening, Katie. It's an honor to be here tonight to celebrate your accomplishments and contributions. I recalled a speech I gave on your winning of the Women's Chamber of Commerce North Star Award and how your work on behalf of our district provided and continues to provide the brightest light for so many children. You are a true Northside North Star, and your brilliant and bold rays of leadership, mentorship, and friendship radiate throughout our lives. Your brilliant and bold leadership has guided our decisions on the board and always included an historical recollection and personal perspective. You are our version of Winston Churchill, who I'm sure felt the same way about making sure we not only knew past events and actions, but learned from them, as exemplified with his quote, "Those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it." Under your watch, there was no way our board could fail to learn from history. Thank you. Your brilliant and bold mentorship fostered my own comfort level with getting acclimated to board governance roles and adhering to board operating procedures. I also can't count how many events you've attended and participated in, by the way. Even just a couple weeks ago, you spent hours handing out HEB swag bags to hundreds of appreciative teachers at Ferris Stadium. At these events, I actually see how much you really care, and it makes me want to give more. Thank you. Oh, and I hope you appreciate how my posture exudes my shoulders back and my head up. I lost count of how many times you coached my posture stance, saying, "Come on, Carol, pull your shoulders back, stand proud." It's automatic now. Thank you. Your brilliant and bold friendship, though, will continue long after tonight, and we will continue to share stories, swap advice, laugh, and catch up. And because you are our Northside North Star, you will continue to shine brightly and boldly with us. We love you, Katie. Thank you.
Katie, it's a struggle to sum up 3 decades in 2 minutes, but here goes. For starters, your inspiration is one of the reasons that I consider the possibility of a Northside board service. As a parent and PTA volunteer at Scobie, I was acutely aware of the aftermath of the '92 bond election when growth seemed exponential. I first met you, Katie, when I jumped at the opportunity to be involved on a committee created by you and the board to advise the board about a subsequent bond proposal. I worked under your leadership on the political action committee that helped ensure the success of a subsequent bond election. I came to admire your passion and your tenacity in your leadership in helping to make things happen. I spent time on other board advisory committees, and because of your example, I too wanted to work to help create the path for student and district success. I remember my first visit to the Capitol during a legislative session after first being elected. I arrived early, and I thought I'd be smart, right? And locate a map to plot out our visits. You came in, and I had my nose in the map with a pen in hand, and you said, "Karen, we won't be needing that. Just follow me." You knew your way around the Capitol like the back of your hand. No need for a map when you're with Katie. Katie, you've made a great impact over the years with your work, not only in Northside, but with countless organizations, especially the Texas Association of School Boards, where you became president. I know you're especially proud of that opportunity, and I know you spent an abundance of time working with trustees and leaders in education across Texas, as well as across this nation. You've devoted a lifetime to servant leadership and should be proud. As for me, I'm forever grateful to you for your influence on my board service and to the Northside family. Over the years, we've laughed and cried. Memories abound. I am honored to have been able to work with you on this board for so many years. That chapter is nearing an end, but I look forward to our continued friendship and your inspiration. Thanks for the memories. Godspeed, Katie and Reed.
I first like to say I have been very fortunate to have made a great connection with my fellow board member, Miss Katie Reed. I will share that she has always promoted professionalism, leadership through our time together. She has shared her knowledge and modeled superior guidance all the time. It is very important that I recognize her selfless stewardship she's put forth for several decades for our children and the community as a whole. Ms. Reed has held many past officer positions, including board president, while balancing other important volunteer work. We all can say her time with the Northside ISD School Board and her impact she has had on many other boards throughout the state has impacted many lives and imprints an unprecedented milestone. Wholeheartedly, Miss Reed will be missed but not forgotten, as I know she is always a phone call away. Thank you very much, Miss Reed, for your service to our community.
Katie, I want to express my sincere gratitude for your 30 years of public service as a Northside trustee. It has been an honor and a pleasure to serve alongside with you on this board for the past 6 years. As we collectively advocated the district's priorities that would meet our students' needs as well as celebrating Northside's successes, I have always valued your friendship and will consider you a true friend. May God bless you and your family. I wish you well in this next chapter in your life.
Katie, thank you for your 31 years of dedicated service to the students, parents, staff, and community of Northside. Your legacy is the thousands of students who have graduated from our schools and the successful lives they lead. Good luck to you and Jim in the next chapter of your lives.
Katie, congratulations to you. This celebration is well deserved. I know so many are going to thank you in so many different ways, and believe me, I know you have really earned it. But there are two things I really want to call out to let you know and to let others know that may be listening, that reasons why I really admire what you have done. The very first one is you really served as a great example of how to serve a board's role. And what I mean by that, you always thought strategically. You always put all kids first. I don't care what we were talking about, what we were doing. You say we consider every single kid within our district with our particular decision. The other major thing that I think you've done extremely well is you've represented us well through the years. You've represented us in not only engaging with the local community, not only being involved at the state level, but providing leadership and showing that we can have an impact not only here locally, but across the state, and it enhanced our reputation. The other thing I want to thank you for, I really want to thank you more than anything else personally, what you have done for me. You got me involved first with TASB through the Lone Star Investment Pool Board, and you know the amount of time they're able to serve with that. Being involved with the bond and how much time we spend together on the Northside bond was really tremendous and really impactful. But more than anything else, you always supported me. Whatever I was doing in the community, you were right there to support. So I thank you for that part of it, and I hope you have a long and enjoyable life after the district, although we know you'll still be involved. Thank you.
That we thank you for your service to the thousands of children in the Northside School District. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you and for you over that period of time. Thank you for your service.
So may I say something now? This is not just a thank you from me. This is a thank you for all of you. I could not have done what I have done without everybody else working hard as well. I mean, I've served with 5 different superintendents, and we had 5 high schools when I started, and now we're building our 13th. It's been a tremendous amount of growth and a lot of work, I will tell you, Corrine. Be prepared. There are so many people, individuals that I've sent some notes to some people, but I have not sent them to everybody because they just can't. And I have found out that I don't write as well anymore because we do it all online instead. But the staff that has put together these videos for us, and the night that you all did the memories event for me was so special. And they told me now I get a copy of this, so I will have it forever. And it has been very special, and it's been very special to work with Northside. Northside is a great place. I think it always has been, but it's gotten better over the years. And everybody is working hard to make sure that our students get the very best education they possibly can. And that's what it's all about. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm going to miss graduation week because that's what it is about. And we spend a whole week down at the Alamo Dome waiting from one to the event to the next. And it's also a bonding time for the board down there, I think. And the superintendent, our team of 8, and those people that are there as well. And seeing all the principals and all the kids and the valedictory addresses, it's just a very, very special time. I'm sorry, I'm going to tear up a little here. It has been my pleasure to do what I've done. I never anticipated I would be doing this for 30 years, that's for sure. And it wasn't something I even set out to do. I was recruited to get on the board. But it is so important, and I was a teacher at one time, and I think that's always in your blood. So thank you all. Thank you to the board, or the team of 8 that sent the flowers today. And I have a plaque here too. I guess I just take that home with me. One of the things that I was also, I've never been called brilliant before. I can't believe Carol called me brilliant. That was the sort of time that I did not anticipate. Anyway, just to all the staff, everybody and all the people that work with all the committees that we have, it's just, and Linda McGee, I don't know that we as a board could survive without you. So a special thanks sending your way, and I will see you tomorrow when I bring my laptop back. So anyway, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Mrs. Freeman, that concludes superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Woods and Katie, for those remarks. Next item on the agenda is board members' report. If anybody would like to care to follow Katie's remarks, please raise your hand. Anyone?
Let me add one thing.
Absolutely.
Not about me, but about Linda Burke, who has also retiring from Northside at this time. Linda, stick your hand up there. Linda and I have known each other since our kids were little, so she and I go back a very long way. And she had a retirement reception yesterday at Health Careers, and a very special event for her too. And she and I are getting ready to play some golf. Thanks, Linda.
All right. Any other board members? Bobby?
Well, he's gonna go first.
Oh, Gerald?
Katie, you will be missed. So I'll start off with that, your leadership is tremendous, and it's always an example for what us trustees, as new trustees as well, is to follow and listen to you. So thank you for your leadership on that, and I wish you luck and Godspeed to you and your family. Thank you. I attended 2 events this past week. One of them had to do, and it was with Commissioner Rebecca Clay Flores. She had wanted to meet with school districts in her area, and in attendance with me was Renee Barajas, and we were able to hear kind of what she wanted to know what other the districts in her district, what they were experiencing as far as hardships, financial hardships, or things that were going on that she didn't know of. And I pretty much, we shared some thoughts. We all went around the table and we talked about the different concerns that we all had. Most of them were all the same, but some of them are different as in regards to the growth. I know that from a commissioner side, I expressed, we're always building schools, we're growing. Roads, infrastructure is always important for us as a district. But I did encourage her to go back around and meet with each superintendent and their board and talk about and hear them intimately as to what issues that they were dealing with. So I think she's going to follow up on that. So I think that's a good thing. And it was just a good relationship, just to create that relationship and that communication between the county and the district. The second event that I attended was this weekend, and I wanted to just make a quick acknowledgement of one department, the Fine Arts Department. James Machoka and his department and his staff this weekend, in spite of the rain, and it was coming down in different times, but in spite of the rain, James went ahead and he pushed forward and to have this event for all the fine arts teachers, all the band teachers, the theater teachers, the dance teachers, and the visual arts teachers. And believe it or not, a lot of people came. It was well attended, and James was worried that we may have to call it off, but James stuck it through. You stuck it through, James, and I appreciate that because your department really needed to see and needed to come together and share in the end of the year celebration and just enjoy each other and see each other again, and that was important. I also want to make a special note that Dr. Jerry Woods, I appreciate that you came out. And not only did he come out and just shake hands, he cleaned tables. He wiped down the tables, and he was a servant leader. That's what a servant leader did, and he served. He cleaned out the tables, he dried the tables so that each of the teachers could sit there and sit at a dry table. So, Jerry, thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. And that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Trustee Blunt?
yeah, just two quick items. The first one, I do want to congratulate K Franklin Elementary School. They came in third in the competition for the first Lego League, and they're going to be moving on to the Texas competition. I bring it up because I was fortunate to visit this and see the students back in February when they had just started up, and to see how far they progressed and all the challenges that they faced was really great. So I did want to pass that on and thank them for inviting me to come out there a couple of times to watch their progression. The other one I was going to bring up, just to let the board know, I'm going to be involved with, and hopefully the board signs up, and the superintendent, anybody else that's attending, for the Summer Leadership Institute. I'll be involved with two of the presentations. One of them, and actually it's an organization that's going to be recognizing two of our great teachers and administrators tonight, but the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members will be presenting about lessons learned from the different areas all across the state on the educational loss and what can be done and what suggestions are made. We have some great speakers throughout the year, and we're bringing the best for that presentation. The second one is going to be on behalf of the Bexar County School Board Coalition. So we're going to be out there talking to trustees about how to advocate and some lessons that we've really learned recently on how to do that. And of course, y'all knew I was going to bring this up. And remember, we have our book here. This is our public education in the San Antonio area that all the trustees in the San Antonio area worked on for the last 2 years. And we'll be talking about the book also and the information it provides. And, you know, not to get in trouble and try to sell it, but it's $25 and you can get on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or from me. So thank you. And the last thing I do want to bring up is, you know, again, just for the record, a special thanks to Katie once again. But if you all know Katie, it's just a matter of where she's sitting at. She may not be here, but she'll definitely be involved in helping us out without a doubt. So congratulations again to you, Katie.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Blunt. Trustee Chumley?
First off, it is so good to see people. Oh my gosh, I have missed having a school board meeting like this. It's just great to have everyone with us again, and it gives me all sorts of warm, fuzzy feelings for that. Sid, I wanted to thank you for coming out to swear in our trustees. It's a really important time for us, and we have always been very fortunate to have very distinguished individuals to do that. So thank you for taking your time this evening to swear in our trustees. We appreciate it very much. Lynn Britton, don't be a stranger. It's good to see you, and we're really glad to have you with us this evening. Katie, I know it's not goodbye because I know that you will still be involved and be available whenever the district needs you. I do hope that you recognize with everything that has been done, how very much we appreciate you and everything that you have done for this school district, and that you keep kids first. I wanted to add on to what Karen said. I wasn't able to make the Law Magnet School program, but I have heard just some really wonderful things about that event, that it was extremely well done. Everyone was really excited about you swearing Carolyn said, so that was neat for the kids to see that. So kudos to Ms. Bray and everyone else that was involved in that. I was able to go to the anniversary and retirement programs, where what we did is we had individuals come at assigned times. And so I just want to call out James Michalka, who I cannot remember how many years, but it was really a lot. 45 years. And Steve Daniel was 30 years. And Jackie Horace, I believe, was 30 years too. It's amazing. You just don't feel that it's gone that fast. But then when I see individuals that we've known for so many years, it really does. Life flies, time flies. But I was just wanted to thank the communications area, Northside TV. And Patty, I wanted to thank HR. I thought that y'all did a really good job of trying to really bring appreciation and welcome to all of the individuals that were recognized. And so I just wanted to thank you and all of your staff, Monica, for that. I thought it was a great job and very well done. Let's see. Brian, thank you for your kind remarks at the Ag Awards. I was very touched, and so was my husband. And so this is, as Joelle told me, Steve's retirement take 2 on this, so we'll see if it sticks. But I really appreciate it, and I wanted to thank the ag teachers and the O'Connor FFA Booster Club. It was just, the event was very well done. We're used to having a banquet, but they did a really good job without that, and it was just a real celebration of the community and what the ag program has been able to accomplish this year with having the stock show. So I just wanted to say kudos to them. And then Linda Burke, I am so sorry I missed the other day, but I'm so excited for you. You know, it's kind of like when I see you retiring and other individuals, it's kind of like I have that feeling when my kids left for college. I was so very, very happy for them, but I was so very sad for me. And so I kind of feel that way for health careers. I'm very excited for you, but I'm very sad for health careers because you've done a tremendous job. Thank you for that. We appreciate you very much. And then I just had one other thing. I wanted to say congratulations to Carol and to Karen and to Corinne. I think that this was a very interesting election, probably one that was different from what we have had in the past. And so I think that that our community has said, and I appreciate our teachers and our staff and those that are Northside employees. I think that it was recognized that this board is transparent. Karen and Carol absolutely have always tried to be transparent and open to our community. I think that you do listen to the voice of the teacher and you do listen to the voice of the community. And I think that that was something that was heard in this election. And so I just want to congratulate all 3 of you. I think you ran really professional and courteous campaigns. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm so very happy that y'all are on the board. And Corinne, I cannot wait to have the principal's perspective added to the rest of our governance team of 8. So thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chumley. Jeff?
I apologize. I try to be brief, but again, it's 87th session in legislation, and Dr. Woods, Naomi, I want to make sure that they're recognized for all their effort. Again, leadership, it's very difficult to find leadership to represent 5.4 million plus students, and Dr. Woods and Northside has been really heard there at the Capitol. And I do want to kind of make sure that we understand that there's some bills that we've been really following that can change the landscape moving forward. And so thank you for being there and speaking on all our students' behalf and the community as a whole. And again, as much as possible, those campuses, if those in the room that have children, I have an elementary student, a middle school student, and a high school student. So I kind of am invited to multiple functions. And so all the staff members, teachers, administrators are doing a wonderful job recognizing students, all their effort they put into the classroom, whether it's remote learning or in person. There's recognitions where you have students that are NJHS or even high school, and there's drive-through celebrations that are going on. And so a lot of those campuses are looking forward to a new school year as normal as possible. And I wanted to thank all those staff members, teachers, and administrators to make sure that those students are recognized and the parents are given an opportunity to celebrate with their child. Most importantly, Ms. Reed, you're not, it's unbelievable how much of an impact you've had, not only to this board, but myself and moving forward. You've always been a rock, someone that we can look for guidance and trust, and we'll keep in touch. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Karen, I'm
Yes.
sorry, there's one thing. I would be remiss if I did not recognize Dr. Sarah McAndrews, one of our namesakes. Sarah, it's so good to have you with us, and we're very glad to see you. See you here. We've missed you.
Thank you, Melissa. That was nice. This is a meeting that's bittersweet. As we bid farewell to Katie as a trustee, we welcome Ms. Saldana to the Northside Board. Katie, I don't know what else to say. I think it's all been said. Just that thank you again for your service in Northside, for public education in the state, and representing us at the national level. Your legacy will live on here in Northside.
You'll still be hearing from me from time to time.
We know I'll miss seeing you in the trustee circles that we have, but I know that you will be at Northside events and Northside initiatives, and I look forward to working with you on those. Next item on the agenda is recognitions. To my fellow trustees, we have 5 recognitions on this agenda, including the oath of office to re-elected and newly elected trustees. If there are no objections, I'd like to go ahead and move the swearing in of trustees to the end of that list, so that we will only need to break or have a recess one time instead of twice. So any objections?
I was just going to ask, Sid, are you on any kind of a timetable, or are you okay with that? Great.
Thank you for asking that.
Sounds good.
Anyone else? Okay, so we'll begin with the recognitions, and we need to all go down to the floor. Is that right?
I was getting ready to leave. One more.
Yeah, that's why you're doing this. Got the kids.
We ready? Good evening, Dr. Woods, Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to introduce a group of students who placed first in the nation in the United States Academic Decathlon Medium Schools online competition, the Health Careers High School Academic Decathlon team. Academic Decathlon is a 10-event scholastic competition for teams of 9 high school students who compete at the honor, scholastic, and varsity levels based on their GPA. The theme this year was the Cold War. For the past several years, and in addition to an in-person competition, a separate national online competition has been held for small, medium, and large schools. Students complete their tests online and deliver speeches and interviews via Zoom. It is my pleasure to introduce these amazing young men and young women from Health Careers High School. So first is Seth Ondal, third in music and third in economics. What does he do? You just walk and kind of wave. So walk that way. Just wave. The next is Adishri Shirambram. She is, now hold on for this, first in music, first in science, second in art, third in social science, third in literature, third overall in honors category, and third overall in the competition. Next is Prakrit Desai. He is first in music, second in social science, third in economics, and sixth overall in honors category. Next, we have Cristiano Gutierrez. He is fourth in economics. Now we have Ben Jackson, who served as an alternate. Now we have Arunima Jaswal. She was first in literature, second in music, third in economics, third in social science, and fifth overall in the honors category. This is Daniel Leal Serrano. He is first in science, first in art, second in math, second in economics, second in social science, third in literature, third in music, and first overall in scholastic category. This is Elijah Morgan, fourth in music and fourth in math. This is Grace Nerona. She is second in economics, third in music, third in art, and fourth overall in scholastic category. And this is Anthony Bosnick. He's the academic decathlon coach. And also we have Diana Johnston. She's the academic decathlon coach as well. And we do have one other guest here. We have Rick Hopkins, who is the Executive Director of Academic Decathlon. So if you will stand so we can recognize you. So I believe that is that group. Congratulations. A lot of brain power just walked across this floor. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce the state champions in the UIL 6A one-act play competition. For the first time in almost 25 years, the Taft High School Theater Arts students have brought home the state title. That's huge. Despite all the challenges of COVID, the company managed to safely stage and rehearse the production of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime and advanced to state competition. The play features 33 actors, tech crew, and supporting team members who are all students at Taft and Communication Arts high schools. And we received some late-breaking news. Late last week, we found out that they also won the UIL Theater Teams Championship. This is an honor for the theater program with the most points awarded in one-act play and theatrical design combined. This makes the Taft High School Theater Department the winningest theater department in all of 6A, a first for Northside. Awesome. So we will recognize these tremendous thespians. This is Logan Aparicio, crew member. Kyra Lee Otten. Jade Autry. Okay. Gabriel Boteo Fuss. He played the role of the duty sergeant, Roger, in Ensemble. Taryn Bricker. She played the role of Mrs. Alexander in Ensemble. Jake Burris. Persephone Carrillo, production support. Alexis Cartwright, crew member. James Caceres. Zion Clark was production support. Jacqueline Clark, production support. Nevea Cruz, crew member. Paulina Siskovitz. She played the role of information and ensemble. Chevy de la Serna played the role of the policeman in ensemble. Vanessa Estrada, crew member. Ethan Holland played the role of Christopher. Autumn Houston. Logan Hudson was production support. Theo Jones, crew member. James Martin, designer. Tegan McCartan played the role of Judy. Ryan McGuire, crew member. Trinity Miranda, production support. Ailey Ortega, crew member. Michael Reyna played the role of the station guard and ensemble. Ashley Serrano played the role of Mrs. Shears in ensemble. Lucas Trueblood, production support. Aiden Villarreal played the role of Ed. Paul Walton. Madison Zapata played the role of Shaban. Esther Burton, director. Laura Gaza, director. All right, Amanda Pyle, director. Wonderful. Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium to Dr.
Okay, I have the pleasure of introducing our next two folks to be recognized. These are two outstanding educators who are receiving special accolades. These two members were recognized by the Texas Caucus of Black School Board Members, as Mr. Blunt indicated earlier. First, Nicole McAvoy, a teacher at Bernal Middle School, was named Texas Educator of the Year. So hang on. I have just a couple of things to read about Nicole. Nicole's journey to the classroom began as a medical laboratory technician in the U.S. Air Force. There, she was able to observe chemical reactions and the way chemistry connected to real-world applications. As an educator, Nicole focuses on sharing those connections with her students and helping them bridge the abstract world of chemistry with the physical world around them. While at Bernal, she has fostered and grown a number of after-school clubs and community outreach programs. When she joined the team there, it was a new campus without ties to the community. Nicole seized the opportunity to build a campus community culture that focused on family involvement. She began with science nights, where students set up booths and demonstrated science content for members of the community. Activities included making ice cream, conducting experiments, and a planetarium experience. Soon, interest on campus enabled the programs to add additional content areas to change the name to academic nights. What makes these programs successful is the focus on student leadership. Every booth is planned and operated by students who become content experts for the evening, which builds their confidence while enriching the community around Bernal Middle School. She is already planning for post-COVID and plans to expand academic nights in 2021 to include community partners. These new partners will provide real-world connections to the academic content and enable students to learn more about their careers that relate to the exciting content they discover. I could share a lot more about Nicole, and actually we had to edit this down. But I think you can already see why Nicole McAvoy was selected for this special designation as Texas Educator of the Year. It is my pleasure to present her for board recognition. Next, I'd like to recognize my long-term colleague, Mr. Robert Harris, who was named the Texas Administrator of the Year. When Mr. Harris became principal of John Jay High School in 2009, he had already led an accomplished career as a basketball coach and assistant principal. It would have been easy to settle in on an established campus and maintain the status quo, but that's not who Mr. Harris is. He got to work implementing new and innovative programming that improved student graduation and attendance rates. He lovingly guided the campus through challenges and celebrated with his staff and students in successful times. You might remember that Robert opened the John Jay Freshman Center and was named the district's Innovator of the Year in 2010 for its tremendous success. After he was chosen to open Harlan High School, he's continued to cultivate success among his staff and to debut new programming. Today, more than 5,000 students have passed through his campus on their way to successful adulthood. When you ask Robert about his leadership philosophy, he's quick to tell you that the key to great leadership is to focus on serving others. His leadership style is rooted in his personal relationships with those around him. His approach is a combination of what he's learned as a coach, as an assistant administrator, and in his leadership training. As a coach, he learned that success meant not treating everyone the same. You have to make adjustments to everyone's strengths. As an administrator, he's learned accountability and how to manage competing interests. And in leadership trainings, he's learned how to combine those lessons into a coherent philosophy that prioritizes student achievement in every measure of that word. It is my pleasure to present Mr. Robert Harris for board recognition. Congratulations. At this point, we have one recognition item left, and that is the swearing in of newly elected and re-elected trustees. So, Judge Harrell, if you'll come forward, we're going to part. And Mrs. Freeman, if you're okay, we'll begin with you. Is that all right? Okay, sounds good. I'm going to move this mic.
I will say, normally I don't bring the robe, but since you're brand new, I got it. And whoever sent me this oath, I really want to thank you for blowing the letters up so big. All right, would you please raise your right hand for me? I, please state your name,
I, Corinne Saldana,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of trustee,
of trustee,
Northside Independent School District
Northside Independent School District
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of the great state of Texas,
and of the great state of Texas,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think they're going to do it during the break.
I would like to introduce my family. My husband, Al Saldana, who is also an educator for 40 years. I have my son, Mark Saldana, John Marshall High School graduate, 1992, who went to the state finals in football. Our daughter, Jennifer Moberly, who is a math teacher at Brandeis High School. I have my oldest granddaughter, Kyla Moberly, a student at Brandeis. My second granddaughter, Mackenzie Moberly at Garcia. Jackson Moberly at Garcia, our oldest grandson. Then I have my sister, Rachel St. Charles. My brother-in-law, T.R. St. Charles. My son-in-law, Kevin Moberly. And then I have three colleagues who have worked with me starting in 1974 at Holmes High School. Deidre Dressen, Jennifer Zimmerly, Mary Altman. And then I have my childhood friend. We have known each other our entire lives, Celia de Leon and her husband, George de Leon.
Wow.
Thank you. I will definitely put our students and our staffs at the very top. We are for education. Thank you.
Congratulations to the newly elected trustee. I know you're going to kick me out of here as soon as this is done, so I just have to take an opportunity. Katie, you will be greatly missed. Thank you for your service. Carol loved working with you. And I will tell you, nobody believes you're going anywhere. You're going to be around. Before the governor appointed me to this position, I served 31 years and retired from the 226 District Court. So it's a good number.
Yes.
All right, would you please raise your right hand for me? I, please state your name,
I, Karen Freeman,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of trustee,
of trustee,
Northside Independent School District
Northside Independent School District
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and of the great state of Texas,
and of the great state of Texas,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
That's always very, very special. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be able to continue to be part of the Northside Board and to represent the students and the staff and the community of Northside and to serve that community. At this time, I'd like to recognize some family. I got to tell you, without my family, I couldn't do what I do. Some of them are watching us, so I'd like to state their names and recognize them. I have my son who graduated from O'Connor High School. He's a software engineer, lives in Austin. My oldest daughter is watching. She's a nurse practitioner. She's watching with her husband, John Schmidt, and they have 2 children, Abby and Nate. I have another daughter, graduated from O'Connor High School. She is a mechanical and industrial engineer, and she is watching with her husband, Colin, and their 2 children, Clark and Haley. And here with me tonight, my third daughter. I have 4 children, and you've seen it, you've heard a trend, right? They all graduated from O'Connor High School. Janine Freeman. Janine, please stand. Janine is an educator, works for Fort Sam Houston ISD, and is their elementary digital learning coach. Did I get that right? Okay, good. And then last but not least, the big guy sitting right behind her, my husband of almost 43 years, my rock, my strength. He retired from the U.S. Air Force as a colonel. We still had kids in school, and so he was not successful at that retirement, and we opened up a practice, an allergy practice here in town for another 20 years, sold the practice just last year, and now we have some time on our hands. Ted Freeman, please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. It's great to have recognitions. This board will recess for about 5 to 10 minutes, enough to allow people that would like to leave to please go ahead and do so. And Corinne, you will now join us up here at the dais. Thank you all.
If anybody wants to buy a book during this break. Thank you, sir.
Please begin to take your seats. We're getting ready to begin our board meeting, and we're going to start with the next agenda item, citizens to be heard. That's correct, okay. We believe citizens to be heard is important and meaningful, and we will listen to what you have to say. We value your opinions, although we are restrained by law from taking any action. Please address your remarks to the board. Confine your remarks to a Northside policy or practice. Limit your remarks to 3 minutes. At 3 minutes, you will be asked to wrap up your remarks. Do not make personal attacks on individuals. Trustee, do you have the timer? Okay. You will hold up the yellow card at what time, trustee? I'm sorry? When you have 1 minute remaining, trustee Joseph Medina will hold up the yellow card. You know you have 1 minute left. When you see the red card, it's time to wrap up. There are several people here on Citizens to be Heard that are speaking on one agenda item. That are speaking on one item. We would like you to try to consolidate your remarks and not repeat what we've already heard, but please try to go ahead and do so to make better use of our time. First person, Dr. Woods?
First is Robert Ludicky.
Hello, I'm Robert Ludicky, and I'm here. My most important reason being here is because I'm a grandpa of a fourth grader in the Morelos Elementary. And the other reason that I'm here is because I'm an anesthesiologist. And so I would not at all call myself an expert on the infectious disease of COVID, but I am an expert on keeping my patients safe from COVID, which during these times is not a small task, and keeping myself and my family safe from COVID. I'm a big cheerleader for Northside School District. My 3 children went all 12 years through Northside. My granddaughter's in the 4th grade. So please take everything that I say as trying to help Northside be better. So my granddaughter has been distance learning at my house most of the time, almost all the time. My wife helps her. Occasionally, I get asked to help when it's something that is not too difficult. And so we have had a chance to see firsthand and to talk with her parents. She's an only child, and so her parents are ultra protective. They would admit that. I would admit that. They just are. So their main concern going into the new academic year is the safety of their daughter. So young students, in particular, have a problem with coughing and sneezing in their classmates' faces and their teacher's face and whoever's around. Unfortunately, as my patients who are asleep are waking up, they cough and sneeze in my face. And so I wear a mask, and N95 mask all day long. I wear a face shield to keep the spray from infecting my eyes and getting COVID through the splatter on my eyes. I want to express a couple of different things, possible ways that you could help my granddaughter and her very worried parents. I understand the governor doesn't want to require everybody to wear a mask, but what about offering parents the possibility at the elementary age level, because my granddaughter cannot get vaccinated yet, the ability to be in different classes?
We're going to have, I'm sorry, we're going to
That's
have to
fine.
ask you to wrap it up.
Okay. The ability to be in different classes so that everybody who's in that class volunteers to wear a mask. And if you don't want to be in that classroom, you get in another classroom. The other way this could be taken care of is by not requiring anybody to wear a mask, but requiring either a mask or a face shield so my granddaughter does not
Sir-
get sneezed in the face.
Sir, your time is up. I thank you
Thank
for
you.
your remarks. You're welcome to give us a transcript at some time with what you said. And okay, thank you. Next.
I like your idea about the classroom piece. No one has mentioned that. Just thank you.
Melina Espiritu Azucar.
Try to get my mask off without getting my earrings in there. Alrighty, good evening, Dr. Woods and trustees. Tonight I stand beside all the amazing and dedicated employees of this district, and I support and will be advocating for a step plus 5% for all certified and a 50-cent an hour raise for all hourly employees. But today I'm also standing in front of you as a parent in this district, talking to the elected school board that the constituents of this district voted for. As a parent, it has been my experience that the board does not reach out to the community, that they do not reach out to their constituents, and they do not want to hear from the employees of the district. I've emailed this board on multiple occasions as a mother, and have never received a reply back from this trustee that serves the community in District 7, where I have lived for 14 years. I don't feel my parent voice has been heard or valued one time by the members of the board. Our union does value parent voice. Our union reaches out to the community, and our union hears the daily concerns of the employees. Today, I spoke to another mom with students in NISD, and she told me, I stand united with the teachers. They have done so much, and they need to be valued. She went on to tell me that her children would not have been able to get through the school year without the staff at her child's school. She, of course, did not make mention of the superintendent or the board members, because at the end of the day, it's the employees of the schools that are truly making individual impacts on students. This year, teachers, counselors, librarians, custodians, cafeteria staff, instructional aides, and all other support staff literally put their health and lives on the line to educate and support the students of this district. Beyond what they do in their daily work, the members of Northside AFT, as well as other unions across the nation, have consistently advocated for ESSER funding and for the release of those funds at the national and state level, and advocated and fought back against bad legislation at the state level. The nation was opened back up after a worldwide pandemic on the backs of our educators. We owe them respect. As a parent, it's difficult for me to watch highly experienced staff leave the profession and retire early because they don't feel valued or supported. Keeping highly qualified teachers and staff should be a huge priority of this board, and to keep them, we must show them that they are valued. My children deserve to have the best teachers and staff available to them, and that can only happen if you value the teachers and the support staff that help run each campus. I want the best educators for my kids. Give these folks a raise. Thank you.
William Thomas.
Good evening, board. My name is Bill Thomas, 17 years with Northside, currently at Zachary Middle School. First of all, I want to thank you guys for holding the line with the masks. Personally, I haven't had a cold or the flu for over an entire year now, and I can't help but think it's the masks. Two, a simple request, if you can do something with the chat function on the Google Drive or wherever that is, the chat. It is very, very difficult to control with middle school students. If we're going to continue using Chromebooks, as I know we are, that chat function. Maybe you can selectively turn it off. I understand the high school teachers voted for it. Perhaps my information is wrong, but the chat it's not necessary. And with students back in the room, they don't need to talk to me through their computers. And finally, I do wish to ask you to consider a raise for the educators. If not for me, if for the perhaps our largely female teaching force and staff that have young children, the money will come in handy for daycare and other stuff. Thank you.
Brandy Valadez.
Thank you. Before we go on, please, we don't need applause or any type of reaction to anyone who is speaking, so we can hear what they have to say and then move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brandy Valadez. I am a new teacher to Northside. I want to start off by saying, I could be up here for hours, I think, for all of us teachers, explaining kind of what we've been through this year. As you know, it's been a really tough year. But being up here would waste my time. So what I'm really here to talk about is the biggest concern. And like people I've said before, it's our salary. It's our pay. We went into this profession doing what we love. I've always dreamed of being a teacher since I was a little girl. And look, here I am now, that dream came true. But graduating college, I came out of a student loan debt of over $70,000. So what that means is I pay over $600 a month in student loans. That doesn't include daycare costs, taking care of my family, or anything. At the end of the day, our job is about taking care of kids. We shouldn't have to worry about, can we pay childcare? Can we pay our student loans? Can we help our other spouse pay our bills? Our job is strictly one thing. It's the kids, and it's the kids first. We shouldn't, as educators, have to worry about getting a full-time job in the summer to keep up helping our family. We shouldn't have to worry about getting a second job right now. Some of us are working from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m., lesson plannings, including the extra days given. And then we go home and we have cell phones in our pockets. And it's not school cell phones. It's cell phones because we have a second job. We have a second job to support our family. Working a call center from 6 p.m. in the afternoon till 6 a.m. in the morning to support our family. And as educators, we shouldn't have to do that because our main focus is the kids. And we can't do that with what we have right now. Because unfortunately, in today's society, education is getting more expensive, and so is everything else in life. So we're asking you, as all educators in Northside, to please help us better support ourselves, to support our families, but more importantly, that we can focus 100% on our children in the classroom and not have to worry about anything else. Thank you.
Alex Marquez.
Our May 1st election introduced a new member to our school board, and while I welcome her years of education administration experience, I'd like us to take a moment to conduct a summative performance review of this board on how they fulfilled their duties and responsibilities in upholding their code of ethics in light of such a challenging year. While I'm thankful for the district's hard work in ensuring that we did not experience such a significant loss of staff, I know that this school year has seen an increase in staff vacancies that might have lessened that pressure of the task. Teachers have chosen to retire or resign at an increasing rate for many reasons, many of which are based on the decisions made in this room. So number one, bring about desired changes through legal and ethical procedures. Northside made the choice to reopen schools at a time when COVID was hardly within manageable means. Recent studies have shown that the reopening of schools actually played a significant role in the heightened spread in the fall. The community overall, as reflected by district surveys, did not feel that reopening was safe, but the district reopened for on-campus instruction anyway, putting students and staff at risk. Number 5, support and protect school personnel in the proper performance of their duties. Northside failed to provide adequate PPE and time for employees to perform their in-person job functions. Teachers and classified staff were without desk shields, campus received moldy wipes, and health measures were largely left to campus administration to enforce, leaving personnel vulnerable to the influences of COVID's politicization. Furthermore, instructional staff never received adequate training or technology in order to effectively transition to virtual instruction. At-risk employees who were eligible for medical accommodations were denied those accommodations without opportunity to collaborate with the district on alternative options. Number 11, encourage the free expression of opinion by all personnel and seek systematic communications between the board and students, staff, and others. Northside AFT and other teacher groups have repeatedly asked the board for audience and collaboration to discuss district policies, including safe reopening, retention bonuses, and pay increases. Yet this board has chosen to passively ignore these requests in the hopes that benign disregard will be somehow more palatable than the outright aggression often seen by other district boards in San Antonio. This is still not a productive means of communication. And number 15, make certain that the board remains responsive to the community by assuring courtesy to patrons, consideration of their views in a non-biased hearing, and treating them with respect and dignity. Regardless of my profession or status within this community, this board needs to remember that their position was granted by the voting power of their community members, including the many educators who live within their districts. Their fulfillment of board ethics amounts to little if they cannot at the very least respect their constituents, educators, students, and parents. It is your responsibility to hold the district accountable and speak on behalf of stakeholders, including educators. If this district truly values the experience of veteran educators as it values the experience of veteran board members, pay your employees the wages they've earned and establish a defined contract day in their teaching contracts. Just as you so willingly salvaged Dr. Woods' transportation stipend into a retention bonus. This board needs to show their teachers that they care. If they want to show their students that they want the best education for them.
It's time
You
to
say
wrap
that
up.
you listen to your teachers, prove it.
I have asked, please, no positive or negative response for any speaker that speaks. Yes.
Wanda Longoria.
Dr. Woods and members of the board, the COVID pandemic has brought a new appreciation for public schools and their employees. Several districts across our state and nation are initiating discussions around rewarding their employees with higher salaries and one-time retention bonuses as a demonstration of just how much they are valued and appreciated. Districts have done this on the heels of teachers scrambling to redesign lessons and projects to create enhanced virtual learning classrooms and opportunities for their students. IAs have stepped aside to assist teachers and students when the need arose. Bus drivers were charged with essential cleaning responsibilities in addition to their regular duties and taken on routes where there were bus driver shortages due to COVID. Custodians had job duties increased due to COVID health and safety protocol measures and in many cases to cover for lack of staff on their campuses. They also covered employees out during quarantine. Cafeteria workers were there to deliver meals to students even when schools were in complete lockdown, as well as during virtual and then in-person learning. Our NISD employees put their lives on the line to ensure our students were safe, fed, and educated. Employees across the nation and in our district are exhausted, yet they continue to show up and they continue to give their best to ensure that our Northside students have what they need to make their school experience as successful as possible. While we are on the road to recovery, we're far from it. The social, emotional, mental, and academic needs of students post-pandemic will require much resources, personnel, and programs to meet the demands our students will require to make them fully whole. Again, our hands will be on deck to ensure our students receive the resources that they need. Today, we come before the board to revisit your commitment to our members that you made to reconsider compensation upon hearing about funding from the state. We are there now, and we know that NISD budget did not need amending and that we are fiscally in a strong position. We know that 2/3 of the ESSER monies have been fully released and that those monies will not be a supplant as CARES Act's money were. So today, we come before you with the following pay raise increase proposal. Last year, our teachers did not receive their step increase. Today, we're asking they receive their step in addition to a 5% raise for all certified employees. Many of our support personnel are being paid below the city minimum wage of $15.25 an hour, and we're asking they receive an additional minimum 50-cent an hour increase, though we'd like to see a $1 an hour across the board for our support classified staff until the district addresses steps to bring them to the city minimum wage per hour. We realize this is not a continuous source of income. However, we're aware that ESSER monies to take care of one-time expenses in the budget would allow for this compensation proposal to be sustainable. Northside ISD is slated to receive $174 million in funding, and we would expect you, the decision makers, would reward those workers on the front line that carried our campuses and district through the pandemic and will continue to do so. Across our nations, monies are being prioritized on human resources to help us recover from COVID. We've previously heard that a thank you should be enough from this dais. Our members disagree. Employees work harder and more effectively when employers compensate them well and when their thoughts and voices are heard and acknowledged. When financial stress is somewhat alleviated, what will you tell our members? How will you show Northside ISD employees they're truly valued and appreciated? We ask you to take this proposal seriously. Thank you.
Leslie Casillas.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Casillas, and I have 6 children, a junior, an 8th grader, a 5th and 1st grader. I also have a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. I'm also a former NISD special education teacher, and I now am a private practice as a counselor. My husband will speak about how we got to this point sometime. But since I started advocating and learning more about what's been happening for my children, I've learned a lot. I wonder why there was a 15-minute mask break for my children, but my children didn't know about it. I wonder why NISD has not put out another graduation update since the governor's announcement, but left up to May 17th stating graduates must wear masks. Is mask mandates a moot point now? I think not. This is actually just reconfirmed tonight when Dr. Woods reiterated that he stated in the weekly update to employers. He had stated that he was frustrated, that there was to be frustrated was a massive understatement, that the mask mandate was lifted. Was there ever a plan for masks? What was the plan? I kept calling and asking. I talked to different members in, not the board, but in Northside. Would parents ever know about this plan? I think not. I have lack of communication with the board and with Northside. So what does this mean? Also, one thing that Dr. Woods had said in his employee memo was, the reason for this is that the vast majority of students are not vaccinated, and I understand that it will take many months, especially for our youngest students. So that scares me. Does that mean that you're going to require vaccinations for my children? Because I'm not vaccinating my 6 children at this time. Did you know that this is not an FDA-approved drug? It's still under emergency use authorization, and so I will not be vaccinating my children at this time. Also, Dr. Woods said tonight, as well as in the letter, that he was strongly encouraging adults to be role models for the kids and to continue wearing masks. So then I ask, what will happen over the summer? Will you be coming up with different propaganda to persuade the children in the fall that to encourage this behavior, thus ostracizing the ones that choose not to wear a mask or segregating them? So kids do not feel comfortable wearing a mask at the same time that the adults that they trust are telling them that they should wear a mask if they want to help others or if they care. Meaning in turn, if they don't wear a mask, then they're bad and consider it mean, selfish, or hateful people. So if you want to talk about science, my 5-year-old was in pre-K all year. She did not wear a mask once, and she's okay. We all are. So what I would like to know from you guys is, will there be more transparency in what's going to happen next year? Will we know at more timely manner? Because I don't know anything. Lastly, we try to teach our children to stand up and be brave when other people are not thinking the same as them. But currently, I feel like we are teaching them to not think or challenge, but to only comply with the status quo. And how can we ever get back to normal if we're not being encouraged as parents or as their children? Thank you.
Adrian Casillas.
Hello, my name is Adrian Casillas. I just want to reiterate some of the points that other people have stated, that the lack of communication between the district and parents is non-existent. First, I do want to say that this is not the first time NISD has let my family down. My oldest was a sixth grader going to Stevenson. He was under 504, and we had to pull him out just because they failed to meet our expectations. This year has been extremely difficult for my 8th grader, and my 5th grader, at times my 1st grader as well. We did not choose to send them back to in-person learning until after spring break, and this was due to how poorly they were doing in classes. My 8th grader still refuses to go at all, and she even continues to struggle. She was an NJHS student and now is barely passing. Our journey got started due to some of the rules and protocols that my fifth grader was subject to for the panoramic picture. This was outdoors. This was after the CDC said it was okay to not wear masks outdoors. However, small groups of students were taken outdoors with masks, and the picture was taken, and then they were all joined together, which is ridiculous to me. I don't know why even take the picture. And currently, that same 5th grader, he hates school. He won't wake up for school. He hates to go to school. He hates to wear his mask. That's one of his main things. He has depression, anxiety issues, and this only exacerbates those. Also, when he comes home from school, he has migraines due to, I guess, lack of oxygen throughout the day. My 8th grader, she refuses to go back to school, not from COVID issues, but just fear of classmates seeing her. She's now used to wearing a veil across her face, and we want to try and get rid of that. So why did we keep our kids home even though they were failing? Because of the mask mandate. There's no science behind the mask mandate for children, especially when wearing them for 7 to 9 hours out of the day. In fact, I just want to bring up a study that I recently read. It was published in 2013 by the International Journal of Infection Control. It's about mask efficiency in operation theater, basically surgery settings, more sterile environments. They stated that wearing a surgical mask or N95 mask needs to be changed every 2.5 hours, because if it is not, it's the same as wearing no mask at all. Even the WHO had a 4-hour mask change policy. This was changed in April of 2020, and that was due to basically the shortage of masks throughout the world. So I asked myself, have you guys been wearing those masks longer than 2.5 hours to 4 hours? Then they're probably not doing you any good. Thank you.
Linda Chapman.
Good evening. As you know, Governor Abbott stripped school boards of their ability to mandate masks in our school. Thank goodness there has finally been some common sense. I have no doubt that all of you have already heard all of the arguments against masks, yet you still do not see fit to eliminate the mask mandate prior to the deadline. So that tells me all I need to know about you. And it should tell every parent watching as well that you will continue to defy the wishes of parents anytime it suits your agenda. To the parents who want their children in masks, keep your children in masks. And I also recommend that those parents go to americasfrontlinedoctors.com and learn the truth about COVID versus the mainstream media lies. For the parents who don't want their children in masks, what I'm here to tell you is that you need to understand that the same tyrants who impose the mask requirements to begin with can very easily come up with a new virus variant or supposed spike in COVID cases to justify putting masks back on your kids, and perhaps even make dangerous experimental vaccines mandatory for school. Don't be naive and think that it can't happen in Texas. They've already had our children in useless masks all year long. Parents, you need to research alternatives to public school education, even if it is for nothing more than something to have in your back pocket if the tyrants ever dare to impose mask or vaccine requirements in your child's school. The districts need to know that parents are fully prepared to disenroll their children from the public school and do private school or homeschooling. Now, I know homeschooling may sound intimidating or even impossible, especially for working parents, but parents, you need to have a plan for what you will do if they try to put masks back on your kids, or even worse, require a dangerous vaccine. If districts know you are fully prepared to disenroll your children, they will be less inclined to defy your wishes about what should happen in our schools, because they don't want to lose the funding that they get for your child being in public school. So first, all parents should know that there are only a few steps to start down the homeschool route. By law, you only need to disenroll your child from the public school, and you need to have a bona fide curriculum in visual form that includes the basic subjects of reading, spelling, grammar, math, and good citizenship. That's it. You can enroll your child in any number of homeschooling programs that provide live instruction. Many are free or at low cost. You can develop your own curriculum or use one of the many free versions available online, or you can use a combination of any of the above. Another important point is your child does not have to be homeschooled in your own home. You can create a homeschool co-op with your family, friends, or neighbors to meet the needs of all of your children. You just need to understand that you have options. Start preparing now so the districts know that we are taking back our schools. Look up Texas Homeschool Coalition online and get started making plans. My group website is sanantonio.freedomalliance.com. Thank you.
Ashley Birkenhoff.
Hi, board. My name is Ashley Birkenhoff, and I live in District 7. I have 2 sons that are here with me tonight. My husband's working. So I come as a mother, as a person that has been in healthcare for over 15 years in the field of sleep medicine. And so I approach health from a functional kind of a paradigm. I'm a little nervous. This is my first time speaking in front of the board, so excuse me if I'm a little shaky. But I did feel it was very important to come tonight. I homeschool my youngest son this year. He's in kindergarten. At the kindergarten level, everything's going well. That was not due to the COVID situation at all. It's just preferential to his learning and demeanor. And then my son attends a public charter program in the district. So when speaking of masks, I really could focus on things like COVID statistics or falling infection and hospitalization rates. I could discuss the ineffectiveness of masks due to viral particle size, the ineffective material they're made from, the constant face touching and adjusting, or even the fact that the commercial masks are often sprayed with carcinogenic materials. But I will just leave those out for tonight and focus on my personal experience as a mother and a kind of a functional healthcare practitioner. These really have led me to focus on the negative psychological damage that may be caused by mask wearing, especially in children. We are communal beings. Kids are meant to be together. That's the beauty of public school. And it breaks my heart to know that this year that was like torn apart for many families. I know some children wanted to go to school while their parents didn't let them out of fear. And we have to stop operating on that fear paradigm because the COVID pandemic is over. I spoke at the Texas Senate committee hearing for the state affairs and heard wonderful testimony from Dr. Richard Bartlett. He speaks with Dr. Harvey Risch, who's a Yale epidemiologist, and he said as of mid-January, the herd immunity in Texas is here. The hospitalization rates and death rates have declined, and we have 58% of Texans having natural immunity from acquiring COVID and have natural immunity now, and 33% approximately have been vaccinated. So we're at that immunity level. There is no need for our kids to continue wearing these, nor adults. And I really worry about the next year situation with possible segregation happening. I'm appalled to hear families ask for separate rooms for masked and unmasked children. That sounds like 60s level segregation to me, and I don't want that for my students in this district. Lastly, I would just like to focus on the state of stress that can be caused by mask wearing. If your face is not shown, you essentially are in a stress state. In children, you can't be in a stress state and a rest state at the same time. Facial expressions are especially important for the rest and relaxation state of our children, and it's an innate need. Children need these facial expressions. They need the faces of their teachers and their adults around them.
It's time to wrap up.
I'll wrap up by just saying, I'm extremely worried that this prolonged stress on our students and this constant worrying that the bullying that might come if some students are masked and unmasked will really leave a lot of students in a state where they're more worried about that than their actual education here in our district. And I really ask that you guys all stand up and know and research, and I can provide you with evidence to know that the COVID is over. We don't need these anymore.
Thank you.
Ms. Freeman, that concludes citizens to be heard.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Woods. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move approval.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, curriculum and instruction. Dr. Jordan.
Actually, Dr. Woods is going to handle this one. This is College Board Assessment Suite for the coming year.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good evening. Again, congratulations, Trustee Saldana. So every year, y'all graciously have allowed high schools to offer the PSAT to 10th and 11th grade. For 11th grade, it's the National Merit Qualifier. In addition, the SAT for 11th graders and now 12th graders. And so tonight, I'm just requesting that we continue to be able to offer this. Once again, it's the PSAT for the 9th and 10th graders and the SAT for 11th and 12th. In the past, several years ago, we didn't do the SAT for 12th graders, but since House Bill 3, we are reimbursed for one of those exams, and campuses receive additional funding based on the success of the SAT scores. So I have a one-pager I'm happy to leave with Ms. McGee or Mr. Perez that has last year's quote compared to this year's quote. It is a little bit different. Last year, the PSAT was, I should say this year. For this year, it was $14 for the PSAT. For 21-22, it's $16. For the SAT, it is $37. It was $37 for this year. It's $36 next year. It actually went up in price, but there is TEA legislation that in Texas, College Board can't charge more than $36 for our school districts. We did have growth across the board for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So the price is a little bit higher. For this year, our quote was $766,686. And for next school year, it is $810,924. Be happy to address any questions.
Just one quick comment. Board members will remember that this has been a long-term strategy of the board to equalize access to the college test assessments, pre-college assessments, and would recommend continuation of that strategy.
Okay. Dr. Woods, do you remember, I'm trying to, Jerry, I don't know, and I won't hold you to it. I was just trying to get, I was trying to remember prior to us paying for this, kind of what our numbers look like. And I know that part of the discussion we had said that we may, because I know that it's may not be an accountability measure, but it's certainly something that we look at. I'm trying to think if it's in PEAMS or one of the tests anyway. And we had said that we recognized that we could possibly take a little bit of a hit on it, but it was more important that all of our students have access and are supported and encouraged to take these tests. And that was one of the reasons. So I've been really proud of the fact that we do that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that we give our kids that opportunity. I was just trying to remember how many we had. I cannot remember what that percentage increase was from when we didn't do this to doing this now.
So prior to, and this has been many years, but prior to us doing this, our percentage taking one or more college entrance exams was around 60%. Now it's about 98%.
Yeah. See, we absolutely need to continue to do this. I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Melissa to approve, a second from Gerald. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Woods.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is facilities and operations, the master plan for Colonies North Elementary School.
And Ms. Freeman, Jacob Villarreal is going to take the lead on this, and the architects will make the presentation.
Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Woods and Board of Trustees. Today, we're here to present the master plan for Colonies North Elementary. We're seeking approval. We are here to present the master plan of Colonies North Elementary School and have commission to examine the long-range capital improvement plans to ensure a logical and systematic improvement plan. This effort is being conducted to ensure the campus is designed properly, and if the master plan is found acceptable, the plan will be considered in future capital improvement programs. So here to present this to you is Next Gen Architects, and I have Joel Hernandez.
Sorry, I'm shorter than Jacob. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting us present today.
Thank you.
Although Mr. San Miguel isn't here, he did text me to make sure I was short and brief, so I will do my best.
Appreciate that from you and from him.
Okay, so let's take it through. As we've done, us as well as other architects that have looked at these, we're basically looking at the master plan objectives to implement as you move forward with not only perhaps your current bond that you're planning, but future bonds in terms of how would we go about addressing the needs at Colonies North. So here's some images for those of you not familiar with Colonies North Elementary School. Most of the buildings, the main buildings were built in 1966. So you kind of get an overview. It's an interesting campus in that it basically has a spine that goes down the center right above that student drop-off and visitor parking that you see that goes north-south. That's where you have your library, cafeteria, things of that nature. And then you have courtyards with classrooms that are supported on each side. So as you can see here by the diagram, we've color-coded when these buildings were developed. As you probably know with most of your older campuses, they weren't designed as they are now, where they're basically a 660 or an 800 school capacity. These were built oftentimes in various stages. So you can see here that the main core was built in 1966. And then as time went on in 76, there were some additional additions that were made to the front, as well as the gymnasium up on the upper left-hand corner. And then lastly, there were some other improvements done in 1991. So as you can see by our assessment here in regards to how this campus relates to the other current standards that you have, we have some deficiencies in basically the support spaces, physical education, some of your mechanical and some of your support areas, which is not uncommon with campuses of this age. So oftentimes what we find is you'll have the right number of classrooms, but the classrooms are smaller and not to your current standards. So here's kind of an overview of the campus as it exists now. So you can see the instructional spaces the classrooms are coded in the darker blue. Some of the support spaces, by support we mean music, art, pre-K, computer labs, things of that nature, are in the kind of lighter blue. And then you see the cafeteria, the gymnasium, and the library right there down the center. And then admin at the front. That's the other thing we find oftentimes in your older campuses is the administration offices are considerably smaller than what you would expect to find at a new campus. So once again, once we did the evaluation, as you can see, we did want to address some of the physical education undersizing that we have. The classroom spaces have obviously gone past their life expectancy. Administration is undersized, media services are undersized, parking areas are deficient, and then the playgrounds are not in optimal areas. As you can see, we have one right at the intersection of Colony Drive and Northampton Drive. Right at the corner, there's a playground there that is often used by the children. It's right at the front of the school at the intersection. So that would not be what we would do in a new campus. So those are the things we're going to try to improve. So we took the approach of doing this in 3 phases just to try to do it in a way where we wouldn't overly impact the student experience. So we would propose in the first phase to take out the classroom building that would be demolishing 6 classrooms as well as the old gymnasium and using portable buildings to support that. And then coming back and building your standard gymnasium, cafeteria, kitchen setup that we have on your current elementary schools, as well as replacing it, adding some 4 classrooms there to that portion, which would then allow us to demolish the existing chiller yard and the kitchen and bring all of that to that new addition. So you can see in red that we would propose to, at that point, eliminate the kitchen since we don't need 2 kitchens in this facility. And that would be the completion of phase 1. Part of the site work that would be included in that phase 1, we would propose to extend, now that we've removed the kitchen and the chiller yard, would allow us to actually provide a proper bus loop, which will allow buses to pick up students right off of the gymnasium cafeteria, which is kind of your standard setup that you have now in your newer schools. And we estimate current cost range on that addition would be between basically 8 million to 8.3. In the next phase, phase 2.
Joelle?
Yes, ma'am.
Wait, let me ask you, with everything that we're running into with, I mean, we're just running into, at least in my job that I get paid for, some real challenges on the material side.
Yes.
So when we're looking at what that cost is, how do we really, what do you use to judge that? Or, I mean, I know you're giving us your best estimate that you've
Right.
got, but I mean, you know, we're looking at just long delays on lumber, on steel joist,
Right.
on
Everything.
PVC. I mean, so I'm just curious how we look at that piece of it and really, or is it that you're giving us your best estimate now, and then when we look at it in relation to the bond,
Right.
we're going to be looking at
The-
how do we factor in those things that we're seeing
Correct.
on
The-
this?
The plans that we're showing here, and obviously these phases are interchangeable. You could make number 3 the first one and number 1 the last one if you wanted to. And the cost that we're showing for each of these is taking the approach of what would it cost if we were building it in 2022, a year from now.
Okay.
So
all right.
it's taking it and taking a snapshot at that point. Now, if any of these phases were going to be included in the next bond, we would propose that you take that number and then add an inflation to it based on when you anticipated actually doing the project. So if that project wasn't going to get realized for another 2 years after the bond passed, meaning 2024, well, you'd need to add some cost in there because you're going to have some inflation between 2022, which is what we're
Right.
giving you, and 2024 when you're actually going to build it.
Right. We're just going to have to.
And that's how
figure
you
out-
start to protect it. And I believe
So this is based on figures if we were looking at doing this in 2022?
all of it. Yes.
Okay, all right, that's what I need.
Okay. Is this the only way, not knowing when you're going to?
Yeah, there's no way.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so in phase 2, we would demolish the existing cafeteria, and I did forget to mention that in that current phase 1 plan, we would take the existing cafeteria that we're proposing to demolish now and create some additional classroom spaces as well. But in the next phase, we would demolish that existing cafeteria as well as some additional classrooms in the center of that building and add 3 portables, which would then allow us to build a new classroom building with 39 new classrooms. And then in addition to that, we would then, once we had the 39 classrooms, which would be all the classrooms that we would basically need for your standard program, we would then remove the remaining 5 classrooms as well as the removal of the 3 portable buildings that were there during the phase 2. So at the end of that, we'd end up with a new classroom building and a new library. And once again, estimating that if this were done in 2022, we'd be somewhere in between 13 and 13.8 million dollars. In the last phase, phase 3, we're proposing to take out that front administration as well as the 2 support classroom wings that are on either side of that entry. And then coming in with a new administration and new classroom buildings, which would then allow us to put in those support spaces, the pre-K, kindergarten, along with a new playground for the smaller children. So as you can see there, and that we would then complete that, as well as the front parking and faculty parking would get expanded to match up with what you would normally see in a campus of this size. But more importantly, the other security things would be moving that playground from the corner all the way into the interior of the campus, and have those smaller children protected by the building even further.
And
So,
Joelle,
yes, ma'am.
one of the things that I wanted to share with the board, in the building committee meeting, one of the comments that Katie had made in relation to this school was the loss of the 2 courtyards.
Right.
And so kind of what would be your vision there
Right.
as to figuring out a way to give that aesthetic back?
Right, and one of the ways we're doing it, as you can see there, on the lower right-hand corner where we have the new administration building, and just above it to the north, between that and the classroom library building, we would still have the trees that are existing as part of one of the courtyards as part of that. So we're trying to maintain some of that, but honestly, the enclosed courtyards you have now are not necessarily ideal, in the sense that air circulation apparently is an issue, and drainage has been an issue in the past. So
always.
So we want to maintain some of it, but in our solution, we would not only try to save the trees, but in addition to that, keep one side open so that we could create some natural ventilation in those spaces, so that hopefully we can make them a little bit more usable for both students and staff. Yes, ma'am. So in this new completion, we would anticipate the cost to be somewhere between $6 and $6.5 million. So just to kind of wrap up, these are the probable cost estimates for construction beginning in 2022 for each one of these phases. And as I mentioned earlier, these numbers are interchangeable in regards to which one you do first or second or third. Obviously, we had to select one. We even thought about doing A, B, and C, but we ended up with 1, 2, 3. But ultimately, if you were to try to do all of it at the same time, you'd be looking at somewhere between $27 and $28.6 million. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Wait, back up.
Yes, ma'am.
So you had said they were interchangeable. So Brian, if we said in the next bond, we wanted to do that phase 1, or we wanted to do phase 1 and phase 3. So we could look at something like that. And I'm trying to think, what is the cost of a new middle school ground up, a new elementary school now ground up and minus the land?
Ground up is around
30.
27, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Tomlinson was at 27.
Yeah. So I was gonna say this-
fees and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Now, keep in mind here, we have phasing costs and all kinds of other
Right.
things that are also added. And obviously, we don't have as much site development, right? Because we're not starting from scratch.
But we are
So
looking
those
at
kinda
almost,
offset.
almost the same cost of a brand new school.
But yes,
Minus land
it
value
is.
and
It
all
is.
those other infrastructure things that you have to do, dirt work and stuff first.
It is.
Yeah, we're at a point with some of our buildings where that's gonna be the solution, right? Is to,
Yeah.
over time, essentially reconstitute the campus, much
Right.
like we've done with Rayburn Middle School over, the last 3 bond programs. One more to go, and then
Right.
we'll be done.
Right.
So we are looking hard at doing one of these phases, maybe more than one, in the next capital improvement project. My preference, and this will be up to the board, we'll discuss this more in committee, is that we actually start at the front and
And move
redo the facade and give it a brand new look as a priority. But that's a discussion for another day.
Well, and I know that, just to share with the board, in building committee, one of the conversations was that would really be something that, would be favored. However, then this is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the old gyms, right?
Yes.
That are kind of like the metal building
Yes.
gyms that we have on some of
got a-
our older campuses that was standard construction a long time ago.
Which has an open
Um,
canopy from the main building to the gym.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Oak Hills Terrace has that too. But what I wanted to say is, Joelle, I really appreciate that you divided it in and that your vision in relation to our master plan, divided it into phases that gave us this option. I really like, and I would encourage on our master plans that the architects do that you give us the flexibility to say, okay, we can do 1 and 3, or that we're not tied into, no, we have to do this one and then
Right.
this one and then this one, when really what we want to do is right here. I mean, and I know that some of our campuses cause that, where there's the old ones that were just kind of open to that open concept, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Is challenging to change that. But I just wanted to tell you, I really appreciated that you brought this in this manner to give us that flexibility to really look at, you know, what do we want to start with and what's the most important piece for the campus and for our kids.
Yeah, I think Joel would agree, though, that there are some campuses that just the way they're designed, in order to keep the campus operational,
You have to.
Oh,
really
you
have
can.
to go in
Right.
that order.
Yeah, no,
So while it worked out great here,
Right.
Yeah.
I think the next master plan we give Joel, he'll come back and say, it ain't gonna work.
No, and I understand that, Brian. I just really, you know, that, the other one, there was one recently that we did, and it was just really hard to get to that point
It is.
of feeling comfortable with it. And so when I saw this, it was like, geez, I'm glad this is one of those ones
Right.
that we could do this with. So.
Yeah,
Not,
some of
not
those
that
you
he and
aren't-
Raul didn't do a good job. That's not what I'm suggesting. However,
It was actually all that did all of it. But you're
Yeah.
right, on some of those, it is a shell game,
Yeah,
as
some you
Dr. Woods
can't.
said. It's
Yeah.
you gotta move one to get the other one, otherwise it just doesn't
Right,
work.
but I just really was, you know.
But we'll
'cause I
keep
really
doing all of
struggled
these if
on
you
the
want,
other.
and we'll do our best to make it. So,
yeah.
all righty.
And
So,
so,
uh,
my understanding is we need approval on this. And then the building committee really had a real detailed description, and I was really glad that it was, because Katie is really familiar with this campus. And so I really appreciated that we had her input on
Yes.
this final building committee, that it was Colonies North that we shared. Anyway, the building committee, I think the questions was the courtyards and the phasing of
Right.
it, and could we do more than one phase of it, was really kind of the main discussion.
Well, yeah, 1 or
Unless-
3.
Yeah, it was.
Karen, if there's anything you want to add to that.
It was bittersweet for Miss Reed because obviously she's seen her kids go through this campus
Right,
and now
so-
she sees it's going to be changing. So
Right.
she was happy to see the change, but sad at the same time
Aw.
because it's not going to be the same school
Yeah.
that her kids attend.
Right. So I would move approval unless anyone has some questions.
We have a motion on the floor to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second on the floor to approve the master plan for Colonies North Elementary School. Any further discussion, questions from the board? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And there we go.
Thank you.
Now all we have to do is
Get it done, right?
think about it, think about another bond.
That's right. Well,
Okay,
congratulations, Ms. Freeman and Ms. Aldana, and
thank you.
best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you guys.
All right, next item on the agenda is under administration. Virtual instruction waiver for Passmore Elementary School. Mr. Galindo.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Freeman. Dr. Woods, trustees, welcome, Ms. Aldana. Item A is a request for a waiver for Passmore Elementary. And what occurred, and the reason for the request for the waiver, is that during the night on April 14th, we had a fire sprinkler malfunction. And so our estimate is about 3 a.m. is when it occurred. And so we had water leak into the building until staff got there to about 6 a.m. And so about 30 classrooms were affected, as you might imagine, some of them up to 2 to 3 inches of water. Electricity had to be shut off. And of course, our teams went out to assess. And so we regrouped as a staff. The Passmore staff did a good job. And were able to have instruction later that morning, but not from the building. And so the request is for a virtual instruction waiver. And as you might imagine, because we had low attendance, for us to submit it as a low attendance waiver. So the request is for us to be able to submit that.
Okay. Thank you. This does require approval.
Correct.
Move
for approval.
We have a motion to approve by Joseph. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard a second from Ms. Saldana.
Ms. Saldana.
The honor of her first second.
There we go. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And Mr. Galindo, next item.
Yes, ma'am. So item B, April was not a good month for us for power outages. A couple of weeks later, we had some pretty bad storms during the night on April 28th. And so power went out throughout the city, throughout the county. But in the morning, we had 3 campuses that still did not have electricity: Elrod, Callison, and Connolly Middle School. Once again, we moved our facilities teams out there, and they were working with CPS. And we tried to work through the problem as much as possible. Unlike Passmore, however, the decision was made and we were not able to have classes at all. So this is actually a missed school day waiver that we are submitting to TEA for these 3 campuses for that day, due to the fact that we were not able to restore electricity until later in the day. Actually, it was in the afternoon for 2 of the campuses. So the request, Ms. Freeman, is for submission of a missed school waiver for those 3 campuses.
Just to be clear, the reason for the difference between A and B is that in the case of B, those entire neighborhoods, including all the homes around the schools, didn't have power either. And so standing up virtual instruction would have been nearly impossible for those students. So that's the difference between the 2.
We also had teachers that lived in the same neighborhood, and to Dr. Wood's point, they weren't able to deliver from home even if we allowed it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the.
Joseph.
Yes? Did somebody, Mr. Galindo?
I'm sorry.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the missed school day waiver for Elrod, Callison, and Connolly. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And third and final item, Mr. Galindo.
Yes, ma'am. So item C is a resolution to be in compliance with what we've heard a lot and we'll continue to hear a lot about, which is ESSER funds, and it would be for us to be in compliance. So just to sum up, this part is what the federal government is in their efforts trying to ensure transparency when it comes to the expenditure of these funds. And so specifically what they're asking for is that there be some sort of some language that will require, and is stated clearly, input from stakeholders when it comes to the expenditures, as well as a board of trustees to have it referenced as an agenda item. And so when you look at our local CB policy, that is not explicitly written. And so this policy does deal with state and federal revenues, including grant awards, which this falls under. And so by adopting this resolution, we would not have to change CB local and would still be in compliance. And all of this, of course, Ms. Freeman, comes after discussion with the attorneys at TASB, who, after reviewing our policy, recommended that we adopt this resolution again, so that moving forward we'll be in compliance anytime there's expenditures of ESSER funds.
Ray, I think, Brian, can you help explain that? I'm reading the resolution, and so it sounds like we have to provide a way to have public input on how the funds are going to be used. However, Brian, the second bullet says approval of required ESSER 3 grant and awards plans shall be by the superintendent. I guess I'm not understanding that, because actually usually that's approval by the board.
Yeah, I didn't really, I mean, our intent will be to bring the spending plan to the board probably more than once, frankly, because it has to be monitored and altered, I want to say biannually. So I think that that's true. The expenditure of the funds is an administrative function, obviously. The reason for the resolution is that ESSER 3 specifically requires input from various stakeholder groups. And we started that weeks ago, even before they announced the release of the dollar. So we're well on the way on that. Our policy CB does not specifically talk about getting stakeholder input. So the resolution is to clarify that, yes, we will get stakeholder input, which puts us in compliance with the ESSER, the specific ESSER requirement.
I just, that second bullet, I don't think says that though, Brian.
Yeah, doesn't say that. So you're in charge of it.
Is it? I mean, am I
It
reading?
says that you're the one that has the
am I reading
decision-making
it
factor on it.
incorrectly?
Correct. However, they still want it to be, although it is an administrative function ultimately approved by the superintendent, they wanted it to be a board agenda item so that there's the collaboration and discussion with you as a board of trustees, is my understanding.
Well, actually, don't those expenditures come under our approval in relation to the budget, and wouldn't this fall under the budget? So Brian, is that more that we get input from the community and then you develop them with staff, and then that decision on how those funds are used is then your approval, which then comes to the board through the normal budget process, in that we have to approve the overall budget, and the ESSER 3 funds are going to be part of that and how they're expended. Is that?
You're right, except we'll probably bring the ESSER 3 plan outside of the regular budget approval just because of the way timing's going to work out, I suspect. But otherwise, you're right. This does not change the other existing policies that say, under the responsibilities of the board, budget approval is high on that list. So this resolution has nothing to do with that.
No, and that I look at it more, it may be, say, because the first bullet talks about that we're taking public input on it, and then the second bullet may be that even though we're taking public input, the actual decision from that public input falls to the superintendent, who then brings that to the board for the final resolution.
In the form of a recommendation. That's right.
Right? Okay.
Agreed.
Gerald, do you have a question?
Yeah. Ray, how long is this resolution, will it be in effect? Will it have a beginning date? And obviously, the 25th of May, will it have an ending date? Is it going to be kind of like our resolution for the COVID resolution, where we said that it would end on the 25th of a month or whatever? Will it have an end date, a specific end date?
It will have.
Or will it be perpetual?
It'll have an end date because ESSER funds themselves have an end date. So when ESSER funding expires, they have a very clear end date. When it expires, obviously there will be no impact from this resolution any longer because the dollars will be gone.
Right, okay.
Right, and that,
So what,
I'm sorry, Gerald. No, please. I'm
so
sorry.
that's not going to be specific, right? It'll just be tied to when ESSER ends, right? There's no specific date on that?
Yes, but we know what that date is. We
Okay.
know that date is September 30th, 2024.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
set in the federal statute.
Now,
We also, I'm sorry.
No, and in regards to the, when it talks about public input, is it saying that we have to let them know? I mean, obviously, we have to either have it has to be put on the agenda, and then it has to be, they can discuss it anytime they want here at the board meeting, and then they can talk about specific items? Am I correct on that?
We've actually approached several, the law actually lists out groups that must be approached, and so we're going through the list, essentially approaching groups.
Okay.
Teacher groups, administrator groups, obviously, parents in specific groups, parents served under special education and so forth.
Sure.
So we're going through that list now and have been for a while.
Okay.
And I would assume eventually that comes before the board and because
We'll-
it's an agenda item, then.
We'll summarize the
public can-
feedback, we'll summarize the feedback that we get and then tie it to the
Right.
plan that you see.
Thanks for walking through that, Brian. I just wasn't, I wasn't following that on it. So, and then one thing I just, because one thing I go back to, I'm trying to think, I go back to Frank Medina a long time ago, who always said to remember that use of one-time funds for recurring budget is something that we need to be careful of. And
Right.
so that would seem to me that these ESSER 3 funds fall into that category.
They absolutely do, and I would use stronger language than Frank and say that it's not something you should be careful of, it's something you shouldn't do. Once those dollars go away, we'll have to continue to operate on the district's existing budget. And so the plans that we're making do not involve permanent hires of employees, for example. They do not involve permanent compensation increases for the same reason, because those dollars will go away. That money, and we know the date, right? We know exactly when they'll go away. And so while employees will earn additional pay via ESSER, no doubt, it won't be permanent increases. We will not recommend permanent increases for just that reason.
And so then, though, these funds, though, are things where if we had the social emotional programs, if we had things that we needed directly to put into place to help with some of the student challenges from what we've seen with COVID and virtual learning and all the other things that have been challenges over this past year. These could be specific programs for that we may see need for 21-22, but may not necessarily need for 22-23.
That's possible. You will definitely see those kinds of supports in the plan that gets to you eventually. And it may be that we do some of it for 1 year and some other things for 2 years and some of it for the full 3 years that ESSER is available.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Anyone else? Dr. Woods, I do have a question. So is it completely off the table in the legislature that we're not going to be held to keep some of these funds or hold on to some of these funds as much as 40% of them after the 3 years?
That's still, yes. The House Bill 3 cleanup bill, which is House Bill 1525, when it went to the Senate Education Committee inserted the language that's exactly as you say, that we would have to supplant 40% after the first $500,000 grant award. And remember, our grant award is $173 million. So 500,000 as a percentage of that total award is not very much. After the first 500,000, the rest would be subject to 40% local supplant. It would stay in the district, and we would be forced to spend it after the expiration of the federal funds in September of 2024. The update from today is that the feds have weighed in, and I'll just say kindly, highly discouraged that behavior. And so that may have some influence on the members of the legislature that think that's a good idea. I did visit with the commissioner and express significant concern and said that that ought to be a local decision, not a TEA or a legislative decision.
Okay, all right, thanks. Word had it that, if they required us to do that, then there's an opportunity for the legislature later on to supplant what they reimburse us.
That is a concern.
All right. Okay, so we have a resolution before us. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is under superintendents, the reorganization of board officers, and I see my name next to that since I'm here and Dr. Harrell's not. So this item is normally on our agenda in May after we've canvassed the votes and we have our new elected trustees sitting at the bench. And there is a policy in place that states that this item needs to come before the board at that time. However, Dr. Harrell is not here, and this board has had a practice of not reorganizing the board without all 7 of us being here at one time. So since it's essentially by policy, we need to vote on it. We've done this one other time. It would be my suggestion is to go ahead and we could entertain a motion to keep the same officers that we have, with the idea that we would bring this forth next month as an agenda item, and when we're all here, discuss the reorganization of this board. Any concerns or questions?
Okay, so motion would be, I move approval to continue the current board officers until, I'm trying to think, Bobby, what would it be, until the June meeting or until further notice? How about that? Until further notice? Good point. I'm trying to remember, Bob. Can you remember, Bobby? It was 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly the wording of the motion because we did the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, you know who?
Linda?
Yeah. Extend it till next
The
meeting.
motion that we did in 2019 said that we would keep the same officers until a full board was in attendance.
All right, then I move that we keep the full officers until, that we keep the current full board officers until the full board is in attendance.
Second.
Linda, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Who was the second?
All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries, and we'll tackle that item next month. Summer retreat, Dr. Woods.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Freeman, in each of the members' folders, there's a list of possible dates. We have run these by Dr. Harrell, and you can see on that list in your folder what her availability is. We would ask that you check your calendar and see if we can come to consensus on a date. We have several possibilities.
So, Linda, is this in, do we have a piece of paper on this in our?
You
board
do.
packet?
It's in your blue folder.
Okay. So I know that we need to put this on the calendar as quickly as possible. Can you all get these to Linda McGee by, let's say, would Friday be, so it could go in Friday letter, so maybe Thursday and within a couple of days? Is that a problem for anyone?
No, but guys, let me tell you, I'm, for the first time, this is my first travel trip with my husband, so we'll see how that goes when I get back. But we're actually taking from July 2nd through July 18th. So that actually cuts out 3 days on this list.
Okay.
And I'm willing to change ours, if our plans, if we need to, but is there anyone else that just can't make those dates? Corinne?
I have the same issue that you have. I'm out from the 1st to the 17th.
Okay, so then there's two, so there's 2 down then.
Yeah, we'll just continue to look for a consensus date. If everybody, as Mrs. Freeman said, if everybody can just get theirs to Ms. McGee by, say, noon on Thursday, then we can see if there's a consensus, and if so, get it in Friday letter so it can get on trustee calendars and on my calendar.
All right, everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just wanted to let you all know that, though, on that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
What would that be? Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And if it
Oh,
doesn't,
That's right. I missed that Carol can't do those last 2 days, July 19th or 20th.
Okay.
So June 23rd and 24th. Brian, what is our summer retreat looking like from a time period or?
My estimation is that it'll be doable in a 3-hour window of time. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, yeah, because I was looking at, those are Wednesday and Thursday, so I didn't know what we were looking at.
Yeah, I so far at least, I think that's doable.
Okay.
Well, if it's possible, are we all available on the 23rd and the 24th?
I'm good on the 24th.
Okay, not on the 23rd? Okay, well,
How about is everybody, I'm good on the 24th. It looks like Carol's good on the 24th. How about everybody else? Corinne, are you okay? Are you all right, Corinne? 24th, June 24th? Bobby?
okay.
Okay.
Sounds
No.
good.
Rosa?
No, Bob,
He just has to go look at the calendar.
all right. Okay. Let's go on to board committees.
Just Ms. McGee put in each of your folders the committee request. So if that's another thing, we can have that one maybe next week, if we could get that back. Those will come back to the board at the June regular meeting. So
Right.
just request on committees as we normally do.
Does that make any difference, do you think? Because we've got we have all those other things that we're filling that time too.
What?
So
Excuse me?
just you just want us to send what we're interested in?
Yes, and as we normally do, if you'll put an asterisk by something you're willing to chair so that the next board president can consider that.
Okay. Corinne, has anybody explained any of that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
She and I have walked through those at a high level anyway.
Oh, good. Good.
Okay,
So, homework there, sorry.
okay, so check.
That's what we need,
I know, sorry, sorry.
Check. And then item D, Texas Association of School Boards Advocacy Resolutions, Dr. Woods.
So by we I mean Naomi, addressed this with the board the last time we met, and we had a conversation about adding a couple of resolutions for the board's consideration. The deadline for TASB on advocacy resolutions is mid-June. And so we thought it would be good to go ahead and bring these now. That being said, we also know that the legislature's not gone home yet, and likely will come back in the fall, but we may have to react to that at a later time. But both of these seem appropriate given what we've seen in the last several weeks going on in the Capitol. Naomi's here. I'm happy to try to answer questions if there are some, but these were both discussed when we met at our last called meeting.
Naomi, thank you for that. I really like that. Very short and sweet and to the point. The first one, I really like that. And I'm sorry, but I don't remember what triggered the second one. If someone can just remind me what the concern was that brought that second one in. Brian, I just don't remember it.
That was a concern that TEA would retain authority over ESSER funds.
Oh, okay. So it's similar to the first with TEA wanting full authority to do everything. Okay.
And just in addition, if I may, so we're not even done with this session, and all kinds of things can happen between now and the end of the session.
Yeah.
They're happening as we
Okay,
speak.
well, yes, okay, right now. So could we add something to this? Would it be okay for this board to approve or to consider these two resolutions before us, and then any additional resolution that the policy meeting in conjunction with Dr. Woods. Dr. Woods, could we have a policy meeting before this deadline? I can't remember what the deadline is. I think it's the 15th of June or something.
Is that right,
15th of
Naomi?
June.
15th. Well, yeah,
we
we'll
had
have
a
to work that out with graduation, but yes.
If we had a policy meeting, even a quick policy meeting, if there was something that you thought, or that any of this board thought that we ought to add, if it went before policy meeting, could we go ahead and include that in our recommendations?
You know, Karen, the only concern on that
Yeah.
is that our board committees are set up where they do not have
Right.
power to act.
Yeah.
And I would be really,
Mhm.
I would be really concerned if we even start any kind of a precedent where we're allowing a committee, but can we
Called meeting.
can we do it where, and Bobby, help me on
Yeah.
this.
Do a called
Do-
meeting.
Do we have to have, I guess, would we have to have a called meeting?
I guess I would say
Could
that
do that?
sometimes these things happen anyway. So when we go forward with a resolution and it goes to TASB, sometimes those resolutions, it's suggested that our district combine them with another district's resolution. And sometimes we alter those resolutions, and that decision is usually made in conjunction with the board president and the superintendent at the time, and the board is notified. That happens consistently. I know that that's not the same issue, but that type of thing does happen.
So is there, I just, Karen,
understand.
I have no problem with, and I
understand.
trust our policy committee. I just,
Yeah.
I think we need to be very careful of giving any board policy the power to act. So what is another way that we can do this? Because I think it's a very valid and important point.
I don't.
You'd have to have a
We-
called meeting.
Yeah, we faced this. Yeah, we did it a long time ago. We had a called meeting. I'm going back a long time ago. We had a similar type situation. We need to do something down in that area. We've done that before. It's a
Well,
long time ago, though.
One suggestion I might make is, and then let's realize this may not be necessary, right? We're just projecting out and considering. One thing we could do is we do have a called meeting the day of the TASB deadline. And so what we might consider is having starting that meeting at a time where we could get this approved, get it submitted to TASB by the end of the workday on the 15th of June. That is a choice. That's an option.
What day is the policy committee, Karen?
We don't have one set.
You know, how about, could you have one set for one of the graduation dates where the majority of us are going to be there?
That's because it's a posted and open meeting, and that's not an open
Oh, that's not
to
an
the public
environment,
location.
a location,
Yeah.
and it's outside
not
the
an-
district. Okay,
Right.
sorry, I was just trying to think.
Well, there's another thing that can happen too. Any TASB board member, any TASB board director can also bring up a suggestion for a resolution at the time that these are discussed at the summer board meeting. So I could effectively go ahead and do that as well if we decided to do that.
In which case, we could act on it on the 15th or even on the 29th, and you could go forward after that.
Yeah.
Why don't we
It would
have
still
it
come
here-
from the full board, but.
Yeah, right.
If we're
We'd
having a
still have-
called meeting on the 15th, why don't we just have it on the agenda to act on it then? Or is that going to be too late to get it in?
Yeah, we would miss the deadline.
Well, then why don't we just have a quick called meeting with just this agenda item on another date? Have the policy committee meeting prior, and let's do a quick called meeting on the 13th.
If necessary.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be, if we have one agenda item, and you probably may pick up another, what if we just do a quick one? I mean, we're only talking about an hour, if that.
Oh, I think
Well,
you'd be
could
talking
we-
about 10 minutes.
could we even do it in conjunction with policy, right? I
Possible,
mean, we could do that in conjunction with policy.
sure.
Yeah, you know what? Let's
Back
just
to
make
back.
sure we have a quorum at the policy committee
Right.
meeting.
Right.
And then you can, and do it if you have it there.
Okay, that sounds like a
Okay.
really good idea. At this moment, though, we have two,
Right, so
We have two
we would
resolutions.
recommend approval on these two tonight.
is there a motion?
Yeah, I had a-
Yes, Bobby?
Yeah, I guess either, a quick question. Yeah, no, I agree with that, but to say what you stated though, if you do that, again, I would suggest you'd have two agenda items, right? You have policy, then afterwards you'd have the called meeting. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna ask one quick question. I'm sorry I missed it. On the wording, I know why we say appointed. Is it asking too much or too risky to say or elected official?
I think it is. The elected body, which is what we're trying to get at in that second resolution, does have by constitution the authority to approve the budget, just as this board does for the district. And so I think that is going a little too far.
Okay.
What we're trying to push back on and is consolidation of authority in the agency outside of the
Yeah, no, I'm with
elected
you on
body.
that. Okay. No, I just wasn't sure you want to take the next step to say, hey, elected, don't undermine us either. But that's fine. I'm with you. Okay.
Okay.
No, not all. Unless somebody says anything else, I'll move approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the resolutions as presented.
Second.
The second by Joseph. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And that brings us down to future agenda items. Dr. Woods?
Naomi, thank you again for your quick work on that. I really appreciate you bringing that to us so swiftly.
I will refer the members back to the blue folder. So in that blue folder, we've got another piece of homework, and that is the graduation sign-up sheet. If you know which ones that you're going to be able to attend, we would be happy to take that from you. If you're not ready to do that tonight, if you would get that back to Ms. McGee this week, that would be great since we start graduating literally next week. You do have the list of future agenda items. Just a reminder to the board, we do have 2 meetings scheduled in June, a called meeting on the 15th, and then the regular meeting on the 29th. You have a couple of invitations for new school walkthroughs in your folder. Tomlinson is actually later this week on Thursday, and then Speaker Strauss, the school name for Speaker Strauss, will be next Wednesday in the morning. And then a reminder on summer leadership, which is coming up soon as well. Registration is due this Friday, the 28th by noon, and sessions have to be selected before you can be registered. So if you haven't given that to Ms. McGee, that's another item of homework. I don't know why we're doing that so much tonight. That's
Okay.
it, Ms. Freeman.
All right, and Bobby, did you
Yeah,
come
I'm
up
good.
with the?
Yeah, June 24th is fine.
Okay, and that was okay with Gerald, right?
It was. That was
Okay.
his suggestion.
All right, so the 24th.
That's what it sounds like. Okay.
All right, good
We will
job.
book it.
That was
We will
good.
confirm it in Friday letter and on the board's calendar.
Do we know where we're going to go? Where we're going to do this?
Good question. I haven't even thought about that.
Here.
If you've got,
I
if
was
you've got
gonna
input,
say.
you can let me know, but yeah.
I remember when we went to Tapatio one time and we went to Kerrville one
I
time.
don't know that
Those
we're gonna be
old
doing
days.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That's it, Ms. Freeman.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Trustees on May 25th, 2021, beginning at, let's give ourselves about 5 minutes to get to the other room.
It's right behind.
Right behind us, so 5 minutes though. So we'll convene at 8:55 in closed meeting in accordance with Texas Government Code Sections 551.072 and 551.074. Discussion will take place on the items in the agenda under executive session, A through R. That's almost a full alphabet, Dr. Woods.
It's that time of the year.
We'll
where's my script?
Because see, I leave mine.
Okay, the Board of Trustees on May 25th, 2021, beginning at 10:08 PM, will convene an open meeting. Is there a motion to come before the board?
I have a motion.
Yes.
Having been previously notified of being proposed for non-renewal by dated April 29th, 2021, having failed to submit a request for hearing within 15 days of the notice, and after reviewing Ms. McMaster's employment circumstances, I move to non-renewal the term contract of Ms. McMaster's effective at the end of the school year for the reasons set forth in the notice letter previously sent. I further move to authorize the superintendent to deliver notice of the board's actions to non-renewal Ms. McMaster's term
I
contract.
don't know how to deal with them being so ugly.
Is there a second?
Second?
Bobby or Melissa, second? Any discussion?
Yeah, take whichever one.
Okay,
Take-
all
take
those in
Bobby.
favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Is there another motion to come before the board?
I move approval of all of the administrative appointments in closed session.
We have a motion and a second to approve administrative appointments as discussed. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. And this board has ended its meeting at 10:09 PM.
Good job.